Many nano products are in, I'm now coming to applications, are in the market. You see, this is 14 years old slide of mine, 14, 15 years back. So many products already were in Europe and Japan and some of the developed countries were already using many of these 15 years back. Today in India also we use many nanomaterials in our daily life. You can use nanotextiles, you have nano cleaning agents, you have so many sprays now coming with nano particles. You have things which are surfactants embedded in nanocapsules, drugs encapsulated, many things. First, the first applications of nanoparticles were in sports goods and in cosmetics. And you can see from this list, many of them were in jackets, in mattresses, in table tennis rackets, in lawn tennis rackets, in table tennis balls, in face creams to protect you from UV. L'Oreal launched this 15 years back using titanium dioxide or zinc oxide based face creams, which prevent UV from penetrating into the screen. There are dental adhesives, many things are there. In electronics, which is the largest market, because you see in electronics, why today we have such slim laptops, which have so much memory. 30 years back, you will need a room to have a computer of that size, which has the memory, which is in our laptops or our mobile phone. Today in your mobile phone, you can download so many pictures. What is behind that? You have a chip, which is so powerful. So if you see on the y-axis, in electronic devices, we talk of something called feature size. In 1970, the feature size was 10,000 nanometer. That means one circuit element, whether it is a capacitor or a resistive element, those who are physics background will know what is a resistor, capacitor. Anyway, imagine one such thing, the minimum size in 1970 was 10,000 nanometer. So depending on that, in 1 square inch, how many such resistors and capacitors you can put? Few numbers. Today, the size, feature size is 5 nanometers. In 2019, the world's largest chip manufacturing company in Taiwan, it is called TSMC, launched their product. I think in Samsung devices, they are launched in 2019. Today, they might have broken that record also. I don't know, they might have gone to 4 nanometers. But in 2019, they launched 5 nanometers. Can you believe in 50 years, from 10,000 nanometer feature size, today we are 5 nanometers. So what they could do as in a size of, I can do 1/200 of its size of a computer or a mobile phone chip. So I can put in so many chips in a handheld mobile phone. That's the power of nano electronics. So nano in electronics means you are having chips which are in nano dimensions. You have great memory, great power to do calculations. All devices are doing some calculation, some process. The TV is working, it is doing some process. The laptop is working, it is retrieving memory, storing memory. So it is doing read out, read in, write off. All that needs fast action. Fast action means more chips, more power to the chips. More power to the chips means more resistors, capacitors, more circuit elements. More circuit elements means smaller feature size. And that's the power of nanotechnology. Okay. So all these are nanotechnology, how you make interconnects, etc. This is very powerful technology. This is done by industry. Like you must have heard of Intel corporations, AMD, I just know world's largest chip manufacturing companies, TSMC in Taiwan. They make chips which are in all your devices, whether you use a smart sensor, you use your laptops, your mobile phone, all. But how these chips are made, that's a different talk altogether. You have to work under labs which are all protected, or you have to work under this kind of very clean laboratories. Then you can make chips. These are some of the structures, nanostructures you can make using electron beam lithography. This is one machine. There are many machines like that. This is a multi-component wafer in a chip. You know, this is a wafer, a silicon wafer on which chips are made. This is how the wafer looks, a multi-component wafer. This is a lab in TSMC I was talking in Taiwan. And these blue machines which you are seeing, these are robots in which the chips are being handled, all processed inside this big laboratory, which is a clean room where people are wearing special masks and special this thing so that no dust particle can enter. And these are called fabrication labs. In short, you will see electronic people or physicists or nanotechnologists talking about we have a fab lab. The fab lab means it has all these kind of gadgets and machines in which you will not be allowed to enter without proper, wearing protection and all that thing. And you have to have a shower, not shower with water, but you have a shower with air and other kind of radiation so that all dust particles are removed from your body and you can enter. These kind of labs are there in India also, but at a laboratory scale to do research. But the one which you are seeing, this is industrial scale. This is to manufacture. These are huge laboratories. These are in billion-dollar kind of laboratory or multi-billion-dollar laboratory. Okay. You can write with atoms. That's the power. This was done in a laboratory in 1989. You see, already 30 years back, that science was shown. To bring into the market, it took 25 years. The first device with atomic read-write technology was launched in 2016. Though in the lab it was shown in 1989. That means I can write with atoms. If you can write with atoms, what means? You can store a lot of information. When you write with a pencil, you can store some information, or a pen. When you write with atoms, you can store how many? 10 to the power 6 times more information, right? You can write with atoms like IBM wrote with atoms. You can write with molecules. This is less costly because it is a cheaper machine. This is called dip pen nanolithography. This is very expensive, so you need ultra high vacuum, etc. So dip pen nanolithography, you are writing through a solution like your laser, your inkjet printer works in your laboratory when you do printing. So these kind of things can pattern surfaces with molecules. This is patterning surfaces with atoms. You can do nanofluidics. That means you can make channels like pipes, but the pipes are nanometer size. So you can flow some molecule, liquid like water or blood or urine samples, and you can work on a chip. Again, this is a nano chip, but in this chip, electrons are not moving. In electronic chips, electrons move. In this, fluids are moving. So these are called biochips, in which you are making biological molecules move. This is for nano devices in medicines, drug delivery, etc., nano sensors, etc. So this is also nanotechnology, but using fluids. So there is a subject called nanofluidics because you're studying fluids in nanometer sized channels. And the subject is very popular in bio nanotechnology. So using this biochips, you can make devices like this, hand in a wristwatch like looking thing. I can have devices which will have a micro needle at the backside, and liquid is there inside, which is a drug, and it can inject in my body whenever I need under a programmed condition, a medicine which I need at regular intervals of time. So this is for insulin for diabetic patients. This is already in the market, where you can program it and it can inject in your body at regular intervals. This is for children who are playing, going to school, and they have diabetes by heredity, and they need such devices impregnated in their body so that they don't have to take injections. It goes inside their body automatically in a programmed manner. And you can change the amount of insulin today from tomorrow. If you take more sugar today and you want more insulin tomorrow, you can change the program and it will feed in through the microneedle. It is painless injection because they are microneedles. You will not even feel that it is injected in your body. Then these are world's most powerful sensors. This is using a technology where we use Raman spectroscopy using metal nanoparticles. Metal nanoparticles show a feature where they can enhance a signal million times. And this technology is called SERS, Surface Enhanced Raman Signal. And why does that happen? Because metal nanoparticles show what is called surface plasmon resonance. Okay, if you take micron-sized gold particles, it will not show. But metal nanoparticles, which are in nanometer size, if you have 5 nanometer, etc., it will show, say, silver, gold, will show this surface plasmon resonance. What that does is, if a molecular signal is there, say one molecule is there, its signal, which I can study through Raman spectroscopy, is very weak. So normal Raman spectroscopy will not see the signal of that molecule. Say it is chloroform or benzene or whatever, or a drug or a poison or a explosive. One molecule will not show the signal. But if you put these nanoparticles of gold, silver, it enhances the signal 1 million times or more. So then the Raman spectroscopy sees that signal. And this technology is called surface enhanced Raman spectra, which is used now in many airports, etc. So it can see even one molecule in your hand or anything in a bag. So very, very advanced technique. Using SERS techniques, you can detect adulteration of food, you can detect explosives, etc. And what are you using? You are using the SPR property of metal nanoparticles combined with Raman spectroscopy, and technique is called surface enhanced Raman spectroscopy. Surface is coming from the surface plasmon, and Raman spectroscopy together you are called surface enhanced Raman spectroscopy. And why the dog is being shown? Because the dog's nose, it has many, many such sensors, but dog's nose do not have these nanoparticles. By nature, it has got millions of sensors, so it can sense very, very small amounts of any molecule. But in our laboratory technique, we have to add these nanoparticles to get the surface enhanced Raman spectroscopy. You can use metal nanoparticles. So you say you have iron oxide nanoparticles and you attach it with a drug, then you can put that drug in the body and with a magnet, because iron oxide is a magnetic nanoparticle. And if I have a magnet outside my body, I can move the magnet and the nanoparticle in the blood can move along that. So if I keep the magnet close to my heart, that means the nanoparticle with the magnet will go close to the heart. So the nanoparticle and drug, I will try to inject, and then I'll bring the magnetic field close to where the tumor is. I basically want to kill the tumor with the drug. So I bring the magnetic field and close to the solid tumor. Once it is in the solid tumor, I increase the temperature there. The nanoparticle can increase its temperature. And once the temperature increase, then the tumor gets killed. The tumor cells get killed because it is known tumor cells die at a slightly higher temperature than normal temperature. So this is nanoparticle use. Magnetic nanoparticle can be used in cancer treatment because you can attach a magnetic nanoparticle with the drug which will go close to the tumor cell, and you can apply magnetic field either with the drug or just with the magnetic field. If you enhance the temperature, also it can do. So it can be only magnetic field on a Fe3O4 nanoparticle, or it can have a drug also which is delivered at that site. So many molecular machines we can make. This is all nanotechnology. In our body, there are many machines, like ribosome is the machine which is manufacturing proteins in our body. Now, scientists wanted to make such nano machines in the lab. And these three scientists made it using organic molecules, and they got the Nobel Prize for making nano machines in the lab. And this Nobel Prize was given in 2016 in chemistry for designing molecules which will move under certain external stimuli, say under light, heat, or magnetic field. They will move like a machine. And this was designed by these three people. So these are some of the ideas they had. They wanted to make something like a car. So they thought, what is there in a car? A car has an axle. You know, the wheels are connected to the axle and then it moves. So these are like molecules. They chose molecules which are like round, spherical, and they also thought of molecules which are cyclic. These are kind of people have studied rotazane molecules in organic chemistry, where you have this, you see, six-membered rings connected, and some of them, if you give them an electron or take out an electron, they will move. They will have a rotatory motion, right? And then you can create a motion. So if you can create a motion by oxidation or reduction, that means using chemistry, you are doing locomotion, you are doing transport. And so they created the world's nano car. This is of course the Tata nano car. This is of course quite large. You see it is 2 meters in dimension. That means many, many nanometers, right? But the real nano car was made by those three gentlemen who got the Nobel Prize. Their length of the car was 100 nanometers. They are made of molecules, and the specific molecules were chosen so that under some condition they will move and this car will move. Okay, but this car moves only on a track which is a gold track. That means a metal track, and you can also see, because you need to see this. To see this under an STM or some microscope, these cars were placed on a gold tracks, and the world's first car competition, nano car competition, was held in 2017. And I think 5 or 7 countries participated. I think the race was won by a team from Austria. All of them made nano cars, and they saw these nano cars moving under microscope because they are so small you cannot see. So you can make nano machines. There are nanostructures in nature. These are nanobacteria where they have got nanoparticles in their stomach. This nature makes for them to survive in the ocean, to guide them in the Earth's magnetic field in the ocean, to find food at the right place in the ocean when the ocean currents change, etc. These kind of spiders, if you look under their legs, there are some nano grooves which can trap air. Because of the trapped air, you can see them walking on water. We cannot walk on water, but they can walk on water because of the air trapped under the nano grooves. Similar things can climb on the wall because they can trap some air. When you trap air, create some kind of a vacuum, you will hold yourself on the wall. Similar things man has now designed, and that's why we have these papers which we can stick on another, on a cupboard or on the refrigerator top, and then we can remove it again. We can put it back, we can remove. So it is reusable, right? So this kind of things were made by a company first called 3M Corporation, and then there are lots of patents, but they learned it from these kind of spiders with hairy roots, which can create vacuum when they want. Okay, you can have again lizards, different type. So depending on the size, you should have more number of legs. If a large size object has to climb the wall, it needs more number of legs because you need more hairy features. These are called hierarchical structures which help you stick onto surfaces. Okay. Now we use this technology to make many things for our tables, grease-proof tables, grease-proof mats, many cooking utensils, also surfaces where you don't want certain waters, etc. So we can create many surfaces, etc. These are now man-made surfaces like that. These are butterflies. I already explained they have color due to different pores, and this is part of nanophotonics. They have different colors. This is lotus leaf having these nanostructures. Because of that, water does not stick onto them. This property is called super hydrophobic property. Now we use this property to make nanostructures on textiles and on polymers or glass. And we have self-cleaning glasses, self-cleaning shirts, self-cleaning table mats, where because of this super hydrophobic property, dust particles are removed the moment water is dropped, and you don't have, they don't stick on the water doesn't stick on the surface. We can make shirts out of that so that the dust particles are removed. If you put water, they form droplets, and you can remove the droplets very easily. They dry off very easily, etc. These are available in India also. Indian companies are also selling this kind of. If you look at the shark skin, this is an example which shows that the structure, nanostructured surface of the shark skin. The shark skin has this kind of structures, and when it swims on water, the water goes through that in a very straight laminar flow. This laminar flow does not allow any bacterial or fungal infection. That's why the shark skin is always clean. Based on that, now companies have come up with polymeric materials looking like the shark skin, as you see on the left-hand side. The shark skin and the man-made skin polymer, they look similar. They have nanostructures. Now this polymeric nanostructure, you can put it under your boats, submarines or ships. Then they are called anti-fouling layers. They will prevent from bacterial or fungal material to collect on the surfaces and prevent the ship floor to be corroded, etc. So these are used in technologies today. So I think I've told you many applications. I gave you some fundamentals. I gave you some properties. I gave you some applications, and I will close. I hope you understood whatever I tried to give you, whatever was my understanding. And thank you for watching. Thank you, everyone.